Prior to her current role, she was a partner for over 17 years at Bills & Sandberg, focusing her practice on business finance and restructurings and commercial mortgage-backed CMBC servicing. With nearly 4 decades of legal experience, Judge Mora is a recognized leader in her field and was named as one of Miami's most powerful women in the commercial real estate section by globestreet.com, amongst other prestigious recognitions. Good morning, Judge Mora. How are you today?
Good morning, Shirley. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Extremely happy to see you here. What can I say? Knowledgeable, personable, intelligent, motivated. Enough about me.
You have to be that way if you want to get somewhere in the world.
That's very true. I actually do agree completely, 100%. So we will be asking today some rapid fire questions that you need to respond, Judge, as fast as it comes up into your mind. We have but a few moments to respond. And once the time is up, then it's up. Are you with me so that the members can get to know you better?
Absolutely.
All right, then time coming up. Judge, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, to be precise. That's in Fairfield County, about 15 minutes outside New York City. It was, in the time I was growing up, a pretty boring place. And I wanted to get out of the suburbs and live in a city. And so after that, I always worked in cities, and I always went to school in cities. And while it was a wonderful place to grow up as a young kid, I have lots of great memories. I'm really a city girl at heart.
Fabulous, fabulous to know that, Judge. What is your favorite bankruptcy code provision?
Gosh, that is a hard one. But I think it is the automatic stay, Section 362, because
it's my favorite too.
When somebody's facing financial distress, whether the somebody is a business or it's a person,
right,
and they file that petition and they can just breathe for a second. And, with oxygen intake, your mind starts to clear and you get to think about what it is that you really need to do in order to get yourself out of the morass.
Yes.
And I think it's so powerful to be able to give a business or an individual that time to think and to reflect on what they need to do to fix their financial situation. So for me, it's 362.
362 indeed. It's fantastic with the combination of the policy of the Fresh Start, how really the state is able to benefit every party in the code. That's one of the most beautiful part of the codes indeed. Judge, what's the last book you read?
The last book that I finished is A Long Pedal to the Sea by Isabel Allende, which is the story of a family, became a family. It was originally a story of a guy, but it became his family story too, during the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s, and his family's emigration to Chile, and the story of their life in Chile, watching Chile descend into a Marxist government, and their flight from Chile after he was imprisoned as a political prisoner. They went back to Spain for a little bit. They went to Venezuela, and then ended up back in Chile again to see the company emerge as a democracy. And it was just a very powerful story about the different kinds of government that can exist: fascism, communism, democracy, and how it affects ordinary people's lives.
Isn't that a book where the husband, I'm gonna mess it up, where the husband passes away as well. I think I read that one too.
Yeah, at the very end.
It's
The end of
very,
the story. It's the story of his life. Yeah.
very riveting, very endearing. How do you like to spend your time off the bench?
Well, I've got three things that I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy cooking, and I'm married and I have two boys. One has gone off and started his own family up in New Jersey, so I don't get to cook for him too much anymore. My younger son, some people may know, is the litigation reporter for the Daily Business Review, Michael Mora. And when the pandemic started, he abandoned his apartment in Miami and came home so that I could cook for him. So I've had the joy of cooking for him along with my husband for the last few years after we were empty nesters for a little bit. The other thing I really like doing is I really like gardening. And I have lots of plants all around my house. My backyard is sort of a tropical jungle. I'm really into native plants. And so that's another passion of mine. My third passion is traveling. My husband and I love traveling. It was very hard for us during the pandemic to be stuck in one place, but we really like traveling, and we have traveled all over the world. Our upcoming trips, we're going to Utah this summer for a week, and then in the fall, we're going to Alaska, to Denali National Park, and then on a cruise down the Alaskan coast.
Fascinating, fascinating indeed. And what's your favorite dish?
What's my favorite dish? My comfort food is risotto. I love risotto.
Right.
But you know, there's lots of different things. I really love chicken parmesan is probably one of my signature dishes. My son lives for my chicken parmesan. So, you know, there you have it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a Palumbo, so I do get it. Um, how? What about TV shows? Do you have a really bad TV show that you want to admit to watching, or anything like that?
Well, let's say this. You know, my work takes a lot of my time. You know, and I like to also, you know, look at, you know, read books or look at newspapers, once in a while a magazine. So I don't watch a lot of TV. In addition, because of all the men in my house and my wanting to spend some time with them when I'm not working, there's a lot of sports on in our household.
Yes.
Football during football season, basketball during basketball season, not too much baseball, you know, little soccer too once in a while. But when I just can't stand the sports on TV anymore, I sneak away to my own TV. And one of my guilty pleasures is watching This Is Us. I know it's like corny and all that, but it's like my little adult soap opera.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Judd. What about the last concert you attended?
Now, that is a hard one because I go to a lot of concerts. My husband and I actually were big music fans. We actually met on the dance floor. And so I have loved, you know, music from like the 70s all the way to current. It may be that the last concert we went to was Kane Brown in Las Vegas.
When was this?
I think right before the pandemic. But having said that, I also last night went to the Kravitz Center and saw the Donna Summer musical and was reliving my life as a disco queen. So, you know, I will run the gambit.
Very funny, very good. So it's time. Yes, it's definitely time for all of us to get out, enjoy ourselves, and go to concerts right here in Florida. If I'm not mistaken, last weekend Sting was around in the Hard Rock Cafe. So it's,
I'm sort of not quite there yet for an enclosed space with a lot of young people. You know, the Donna Summer musical, I know it was all people my age. I assumed they were being a little bit more cautious health-wise, and I was okay doing that.
Right.
I might go to see someone at an outdoor amphitheater now. You know, we
Right.
have one of those up here in Palm Beach County, the, I think, Financial Amphitheater. So I might go there. I'm gearing up to be able to go to a place like Hard Rock.
Very nice. Very good. Well to know. But about what book would you recommend everyone read in their lifetime? Would it be Isabel Allende's one or somebody else's?
Gosh, that's hard. I've read a lot of books, and I'm trying to think about, well, anything by Kristen Hanna. I absolutely adore her books. I think one of her books is All the Light We Cannot See, which is just a fabulous book. I belong to 2 different book clubs. So on top of all the work that I do, I belong to 2 book clubs. So I'm reading books constantly, at least 2 books a month. So it's really hard for me to identify my favorite book because I consume books. I'm an avid reader, but I would recommend books by Kristen Hanna for sure.
Fantastic. We'll take note of that one. What is the one piece of advice you have for attorneys who may someday appear before your court?
Well, that's a hard one. Here's what I want you to do. I really would appreciate if you would go to my judges page on the court's website, because I really try to give information to lawyers who are coming to appear before me about what my expectations are right on the judges page. You know, throughout the state of Florida, the Southern District of Florida is sort of laughed at a little bit because we've adopted all of these local rules. But the point is that if you try to share with people what your expectations are, and you do that in the form of either local rules or the things that I post on my judges page, it's to give people who haven't appeared in front of us a chance to learn about what our expectations are. So, you know, I certainly expect people to take a look at that. I expect people to not only have, you know, filed documents seeking relief, but if there is a response filed, reaching out to opposing counsel, seeing if it can be worked out, seeing what common areas the 2 of you have, seeing if there is something that the 2 of you can agree on, moving forward. I always believe that a solution reached at by the parties is generally always going to be better than one that the court forces on you. You know, as a judge, I learned very quickly that we only see the top 10% of the iceberg. And there's a whole lot of other things going on below that 10% that really drive the right answer. And I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to be making a decision based upon imperfect information. And because of that, it's really important that lawyers contact one another, speak about the dispute, see if there's a way to resolve it before you look to the court to make that resolution. The last thing I want to say is, being such an avid reader, I'm really sort of a stickler for good English, no typos, orders that comply with our local rules. And so early on here in the Palm Beach division, I realized that lawyers perhaps were not as up to date on what the expectations were when I came up here. So I created with my law clerks a checklist that identifies all the things that lawyers need to focus on before they submit an order. what I found is that a lot of lawyers, when they submit things to the court for entry, do so through legal assistants or paralegals. And they don't always, the lawyer isn't always the last set of eyes on the document, but they need to be. And so I did this checklist knowing that the lawyers rely a lot on their legal assistants and paralegals to help them with the preparation of orders after a hearing and the submission of those orders. That checklist is meant not only for the lawyer, but for the paralegal and the legal assistant to utilize in order to make sure that what they submit will actually get entered in the soonest time possible.
That's fantastic. Absolutely, absolutely great advice, Your Honor. It's an absolutely great advice, and I appreciate it. And indeed, the local rules of the Southern District of Florida, as detailed as they are, it communicates. It communicates exactly what we need to know as attorneys how to properly practice in this court. So I acknowledge and I agree with everything you said. I have one more question, Your Honor. What is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink. I drink a lot of water. Okay, but if we're talking alcoholic drink, my favorite alcoholic drink is a Long Island iced tea made with Diet Coke.
There you go. Okay, well, thank you so much. That is fantastic. Fantastic to get to know you. Fantastic to know everything, all those little details that everybody wants to know. Unfortunately, that's all we have. So it's always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to be talking to you. And
thank you so much, Shirley.
Yes.
I thank you. Thanks to you and to the business law section for sponsoring this moment.
Thanks to you for making up the time here. See you next time.